In a world supposedly created and ruled by a loving and all-powerful God, the presence of evil and suffering presents a profound philosophical and theological dilemma. Known as the problem of evil, this issue has puzzled thinkers for centuries, leading to countless attempts to reconcile the apparent contradiction between a God of love and a world filled with pain, injustice, and tragedy. From the horrors of natural disasters to the depths of human cruelty, the evidence of evil surrounds us, casting a long shadow over our understanding of the divine. How can a God who is both all-powerful and all-loving allow such suffering to exist? This question lies at the heart of Theodicy, a branch of theology that seeks to defend God's goodness and justice in the face of evil. The problem of evil is not merely an abstract philosophical puzzle. It has profound implications for our understanding of God, the nature of reality, and the meaning of human existence. Derived from the Greek words theos, God, and dike, justice, Theodicy is the attempt to justify the ways of God to man. It seeks to provide a rational framework for understanding the existence of evil in a world traditionally believed to be created and governed by an all-powerful, all-knowing, and all-loving God. Throughout history, thinkers have offered various explanations for the problem of evil, ranging from appeals to human free will to assertions about God's hidden purposes. Some thinkers emphasize the role of evil as a necessary counterpart to good, arguing that without experiencing suffering, we would not be able to appreciate the true nature of love, compassion, or joy. Others focus on the redemptive power of suffering, suggesting that even amidst pain and loss, God is at work to bring about a greater good. Theodicy is not about providing easy answers to complex questions, but rather about wrestling with the profound mystery of evil and seeking to find meaning and hope in the face of suffering. The ancient Greek philosopher Epicurus posed a significant challenge to the traditional understanding of a benevolent and omnipotent God with his famous paradox. Often referred to as the Epicurean paradox, this argument highlights the logical inconsistency between the existence of evil and the attributes typically ascribed to God. Epicurus argued that if God is willing to prevent evil, but is unable to do so, then he is not all-powerful. On the other hand, if God is able to prevent evil but unwilling, then he is not benevolent. And if God is both willing and able to prevent evil, then why is there evil in the world? This paradox, while simple in its formulation, raises profound questions about the nature of God's power and love. It suggests that either God is not as powerful or loving as traditionally believed, or there is something fundamentally flawed in our understanding of the relationship between God and the world. Epicurus's challenge continues to resonate with contemporary thinkers, sparking ongoing debates about the limits of divine power and the nature of evil. Saint Augustine, a prominent Christian theologian of the 4th and 5th centuries, offered a compelling theodicy based on the concept of human free will. Augustine argued that God created humans with the capacity to choose between good and evil. This freedom, while allowing for the possibility of sin and suffering, meant that evil was a deprivation of good. Just as darkness is the absence of light, evil was a consequence of humanity's misuse of free will. The German philosopher and mathematician Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz proposed a theodicy based on the idea that the world we live in, despite all its imperfections, is the best of all possible worlds. Leibniz argued that God, in his infinite wisdom, surveyed all possible worlds before creating this one, and chose the best possible option. This does not mean that our world is perfect or free from suffering. Rather, it suggests that any other possible world would contain even greater evils or imperfections. Leibniz believed that God's goodness and power were not incompatible with the existence of evil. Instead, evil was a necessary consequence of the limitations inherent in any created order. Just as a painting cannot contain every possible color without becoming muddled, the world cannot contain every possible good without also containing some evil. Leibniz's best of all possible worlds Theodicy, while intellectually stimulating, has been met with criticism for its seemingly indifferent view of the very real suffering experienced by individuals. The Scottish philosopher David Hume questioned the human mind's ability to fully grasp the ways of God. Hume argued that traditional arguments for the existence of God were flawed and that we lack sufficient evidence to draw any definitive conclusions about God's nature or the reasons for suffering. He maintained that the evil in the world cast doubt on the idea of a benevolent and omnipotent deity. Modern theodicy draws insights from contemporary philosophy, theology, and science as it grapples with the problem of evil. Process theology views God as a dynamic force in constant interaction with the world. Liberation theology emphasizes the social and political dimensions of evil. These approaches offer new ways of thinking about God, evil, and suffering. The fields of science and psychology have also provided valuable insights into the nature of suffering and the human response to pain and loss. Neuroscience, for example, has shed light on the biological mechanisms of pain and the ways in which our brains process trauma and suffering. Evolutionary biology offers explanations for the existence of physical and emotional pain as adaptive responses that have helped our species survive. Psychology, by exploring the psychological and emotional dimensions of suffering, has examined how individuals cope with loss, trauma, and grief. While science and psychology cannot provide ultimate answers to the theological questions raised by the problem of evil, they offer valuable insights into the human experience of suffering. Understanding the biological, psychological, and social factors that contribute to suffering can inform our responses to pain and loss, and help us develop more compassionate and effective ways of alleviating human suffering. The problem of evil remains one of the most enduring and challenging questions in philosophy and theology. While countless thinkers have offered their own unique perspectives and attempted to reconcile the existence of suffering with the love and power of God, there is no single, universally accepted answer. Theodicy, at its core, is not about finding easy solutions to complex problems, but about engaging in an ongoing dialogue with the mystery of suffering and seeking meaning and hope in the face of pain and loss. Whether one finds solace in the traditional theodicies of Augustine or Leibniz, or embraces the more skeptical approach of Hume, the problem of evil challenges us to confront the limits of our own understanding and to cultivate empathy and compassion for those who suffer. The search for meaning in the face of suffering is a deeply personal and often painful journey, but it is ultimately a journey that can lead us to a deeper understanding of ourselves, our world, and the nature of the divine.